I didn't know how to work out.
What's the point of that? I'm not competing for anything. So I don't deserve to have a body that can do these things because I'm not an athlete anymore. That fucks with you.
That first year was hard.
You were still right on campus.
It was hard to see your team out there and you're just like, nobody cares about me anymore. When I have conversations with student athletes, I get it. Yeah. I know exactly what it's like to not be able to sit down on the toilet. You know, you're going to look back on this 10 years down the road. You're going to wish you could take a week out of your life and you're going to say, I would do anything to go back and do 2-a-days again.
I don't know that I was ever doing it just to be better for me.
Yeah, you were doing it for your team.
Fully.
Yeah. I don't ever remember a time where I didn't play sports. I've never known myself to be any different. It took me so long to figure out I really like to go on long walks. My heart rate isn't, 150 while I'm doing it, but it counts.
Cara B grew up on the field and court playing softball and volleyball, and then went on to play volleyball in college before becoming a full-time athletic trainer. She's been living and breathing sports her whole life. And today we're talking all about what it means to still feel like an athlete, even when you're not the one suiting up. Are you an athlete?
Yes.
Oh, tell me more. What makes you say that?
Well, I grew up playing sports. Mm-hmm. So started at whatever age you start playing like t-ball. My parents had us do that. So I don't ever remember a time where I didn't play sports or part of my identity wasn't being a softball player or being a volleyball player. Mm-hmm. I've never known myself to be any different. Mm-hmm. I think the career choice that I chose after, I did play college athletics as well.
Yeah.
And then after that, the career choice that I chose has kept me in sports for my entire adult life. And so when you're around athletes and you're in that world all the time, you feel like you identify with them.
It's funny. A couple friends, not in a bad way. We don't have a lot of friends that are non-athletes and really never played sports growing up. A lot of our friends did.
Yeah.
But we've talked to a couple friends who didn't ever play sports and we're kind of explaining no former athlete and like this is the brand that we're creating and the podcast and stuff. And they were like, oh, I never played sports growing up. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that I could put my finger on what it is. Yeah, when you meet someone who played sports, you just inherently know, even if they're not talking about sports, they don't say that they did things. Yeah. They're like, you can just tell when somebody grew up an athlete.
Yeah. And now that you say that, I can't even identify somebody immediately in my brain where it's like that I'm close friends with that wasn't an athlete.
Yeah.
But that's probably
and not
typical,
intentionally, but the activities that you're around.
Right. That brings you together. Mm-hmm. Connects you, and then sometimes those connections end up in lifelong connections. Sometimes they don't. When you have a commonality that you like and enjoy, that certainly brings people together and builds relationships. So it's one of the reasons why I know you and why we have over 14 years. Mm-hmm. Is that how long it's been?
Oh my gosh, it's been 14 years.
Yeah. We met in athletics.
Absolutely.
Right? So
absolutely. You're in this thing together with people that maybe you wouldn't have been friends with outside of that. Maybe you would have, but it just creates that togetherness.
Yeah, and my, identifying as an athlete is certainly different now than it was, whether it be when I was 5 or 15 or 22, like that looks different now, but I would certainly still consider myself athletic. I sometimes think like if I'm at volleyball practice or something, I'm like, man, remember when I used to be able to like jump and I feel like now if I did,
when I was doing that all the time.
I feel like if I went and jumped now, like my back might just break.
Your back's like, we're
it
not
looks
about
different
that right now. Mm-hmm.
But I think living in it and being around it all the time, I would still identify as an athlete.
Yeah,
just maybe a different. than like.
No.
In your prime.
I love that your brain is there and that you answer that way. When I'm talking to other people, I've also had the opposite of people do still work in athletics. Mm-hmm. And because they're not the one on the field, the court, whatever, they almost more harshly identify they're the athletes because they're competing and they're playing.
Yeah.
I'm not an athlete because I'm not the athlete that's on the field.
Yeah.
So to me, in the theme of no former athlete, I love though you lean more heavily in, this is what connects us. I understand you guys.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I'm still your head athletic trainer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make my recommendations. I'm here as a medical professional.
Yeah.
in the athletic space.
Yeah.
But you're still that connection and that closeness that you have with the athletes.
Yeah, when I have conversations with student athletes, right, and they're struggling or they're experiencing something like a preseason 2-a-day practices, right, everything hurts, and I literally am like, I get it.
Yeah.
I know exactly what it's like to not be able to sit down on the toilet. Like, I get it.
Yes.
Or to have to pull yourself up off. So I hear you. The one thing I like to say a lot is, you're going to look back on this 10 years down the road and you're going to say, I would do anything to go back and do 2-a-days again.
Anything.
Right now, in the moment, you can't. Like, you're like, this is the worst thing I've ever experienced.
I can't wait for it to be over.
Yeah.
XYZ.
Yeah. 10 years down the road, you're going to wish you could take a week out of your life and go back and have that experience again. You just don't have that perspective yet.
Yeah.
And that's hard for 18 to 22-year-olds.
Yeah.
They're not going to get it.
You can't
until 10 years down
you can't
the road.
instill it into them.
But I can resonate with that experience because I've lived it. I played college volleyball. And so every year I work volleyball as an athletic trainer. I work other sports as well. But every year during preseason volleyball, I mean, the first couple of days, I'm just like, I can almost like feel my legs hurting.
Can you?
Or I look at that practice schedule and I'm like, oh man, like nobody's going to be able to lift their arms tomorrow, because I've lived that experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that helps me to feel like I'm still in it in a way.
Yeah.
Again, it certainly looks different in terms of like
Totally.
the athlete that I am now is not the same one I was 15, 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
And that's life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Being in the collegiate athletic space still. And like you said, volleyball season comes around each year. You have an interesting take on it versus a coach, where a coach is still very much in game plan, control of the game. They're very much in it in terms of the actual volleyball that's happening. You as a collegiate volleyball player are also covering volleyball. So you're going to all the games. You're there. You're supporting all the players, all the athletes. But then you're sitting on the sideline just taking it in. What does that feel like? Do you have like a visceral feeling every season?
There are times where it's hard because you have no control over anything. Like you are essentially support staff, right? I'm there to make sure from a health and safety standpoint that like everything's going well, that if anything comes up and anybody's injured, we're making decisions on whether that person can continue or not. But in my role, you're still competitive. Like you still want to win, right? I try to stay pretty mellow. I always say like I don't get too high or too low. In this job as an athletic trainer, I mean, it's just constant, right? Like ups and downs, ups and downs.
If you were high and low every season, every year, you would just be like,
yeah. And also I think in my role, being consistent is important for the student athletes, for the coaches. If something happens, I don't want to overreact. I know sometimes, more so in softball, they'll kind of laugh because they say like, I never run out to an injury. And I'm like, but if I run, it means it is an emergency, right?
Right.
If I'm calm, and sometimes that I may not be running because I might be surveying the scene, right? To say like, okay, as I'm moving out there in that direction, like what is going on? What did I just see happen? What am I looking at as that person maybe is in pain or rolling around or whatever? I'm evaluating that as I move out there, but I'm also in my own head trying to stay calm, right? Because I am going to be the sole person that has to keep that situation calm.
And everyone's watching you. The coach is watching you. The parents are watching you. The spectators are watching you.
We like to say that we do medicine on a Jumbotron.
100%.
Right? At Division III, not necessarily on a Jumbotron.
Our Jumbotron isn't that big, but.
Yeah, not like we're doing it on live TV, like some athletic trainers are at the professional level, at the D1 level. I mean, gosh, the Buffalo Bills situation a few years ago, like the awareness that brought, right, of what we're trained to do, what you might not see us do every single day.
What you're prepared to do and hope you never have to, what your purpose is there.
Yeah. So sitting on the sidelines sometimes, for a lot of people who maybe don't know what an athletic trainer does, looks like I don't do anything. Right? Like I'm just literally sitting there, which if that is the case, like that's a great day in my.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Like I don't want anybody to get injured. And if they don't, I may not have to do anything. But there's so much work that we do behind the scenes of before that game ever starts or throughout the week in terms of treatments and rehabs and evaluations and things that we're doing to help student athletes to feel the best that they can leading up to that game. Right. And none of that stuff is ever seen. Yeah. But what you might see me do is like roll the water cooler out. So
Not
that
anymore,
seems like
because the players are supposed to be rolling this out. Kara is not supposed to be rolling the water coolers out. Roll your own water coolers.
Yes, I'm team that for sure. We started that a few years ago, especially with our indoor sports, but even some of our outdoor sports and the soccers and the field hockeys and lacrosses. We have, the big water tanks that are on wheels, and they just know they got to come get it, and they roll it out themselves.
Warm up steps.
There are a lot of important things that we do as athletic trainers, and sometimes like rolling the water out is not a task that is
not a skilled need that you need to be providing.
Right. We're medical professionals. Rolling water out does not have to be the priority.
Correct.
We'd have coaches or student athletes come in, and practice would be 30 minutes in, and I would just be busy and I wouldn't have taken it out yet. And they'd be like, hey, we need water. It's like, get the water yourself. And so a few years ago, we actually just started doing that where and you know what? It wasn't even that big of a transition or an issue. I mean, some of our sports would never skip a beat. It was like, hey, by the way, whether they put seniors in charge of it or I think our men's basketball team, it was like, it's a different person every day, but it was like so easy. And it's just one thing that we don't have to.
You're just creating team bonding for them.
Yeah, well, it's an appreciation too of like,
respect.
You hope they appreciate coaches, right, in terms of what all they do behind the scenes. You hope they appreciate the facilities management people, right, who clean the floors and pick up the trash and all those things. And in some ways, like, you're seeing an appreciation for something as small as rolling the water out, because now if they don't do it, they're like, oh, hey, who was in charge of the water? Like, we're out, our water bottles are empty and we don't have water, right?
Yep. Kara B played softball and volleyball growing up. Little kid Kara. How did you first get into sports?
My parents.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even remember.
Did either
that
of them
being a
play
choice.
Sports?
My mom did not play sports, but she twirled the baton. I'm not sure what that
she
like.
did.
Yes, her siblings and our family, not our family because we weren't around, but kind of make fun of her and always say like, "Oh, Melinda was always twirling the baton," But they didn't really have women's or girls sports in high school.
She did what she could do.
Yeah,
and that was something that she could be a part of.
Yes.
And was still kind of sport based, performance based.
Yes,
I love that.
So she did that. My dad did play sports. He did baseball. Was big in baseball. Was big in basketball. I'm not sure. I think he like ran cross country or something, probably in like an off season.
Okay.
I don't know that he did much else other than that, but very into sports. My dad was. My mom is like what I would consider very mom, like brings your water, has the snacks, whatever, has no idea what's going on, like just there to support you and cheer you on. But didn't always really have the knowledge of where my dad like helped coach us and stuff even when we were little.
Oh, nice.
I don't remember it being a choice really. Once you get old enough to like, you're already in it.
When I think back on things, I'm always like, put your kids in it, let them try. As a kid, you're like, oh, okay, I'm kind of good. Like, I'm okay at this.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of keep leaning into the things that you're getting success at and that,
Yeah, as I grew up, I wanted to be good.
Yep.
Like, that was a driver for me. When we started, we played slow pitch. I mean, not to age myself, but literally like in my little hometown when we were young, it was slow pitch. And my parents were a part of the group that like started fast pitch in our town. Yeah, because elsewhere they were starting fast pitch and it was becoming a huge thing. But in my town, the league was still just slow pitch. And so they recognized that like they needed to, and if we were going to continue to play, and even in high school, right? Like, because at that time it was like you just played slow pitch until you went to high school, and then all of a sudden you were playing fast pitch. So
okay, that's wild. Junior high to high school to switch from slow to fast that's a big change.
Yeah.
That's
so my
wild.
parents were part of a parent group that got us going in fast pitch, and my parents started me in pitching because obviously you had to have a pitcher.
Yep.
So my parents being kind of in charge, part of like the organization of everything. I don't know if they just were like, well, let's take her and see if she can pitch. So I started going to camps. They took me all over the place and working with pitching coaches, and they got me into that. And then I wanted to be good at it. So that was kind of the self-motivation after they got me started. I don't remember it being a conscious choice I made at some point, but once I got into it, and it was like, oh, okay, like
once the exposure
I'm pretty
was
decent
there
at this, I wanted to be good at it. That drove me in my sports. Like, I wanted to win.
The choice of softball versus volleyball in college, was that a hard decision? Did you have to consider that, or was it kind of oh, no, I'm probably just going to lean into volleyball?
I was on a really successful high school volleyball team.
Yeah.
And although I arguably might have been a better softball player, my softball team in high school wasn't that successful. So there seemed to just be more fun on the volleyball side. That played into it.
Interesting.
Volleyball was just a little, because we were more successful and because that made it more fun, I went that direction of like, that's what I wanted to do if I had the choice to do one, right?
Okay.
I was probably a little bit better of a softball player player and could have played somewhere. Just flat out wasn't as fun as volleyball. So I just made that choice to do volleyball and
pursued that and knew you wanted to play that at the next level.
Yeah.
The transition of college, Kara, played volleyball all 4 years, knew that you weren't going to play beyond the 4 years. When during that time, did you always know you wanted to be an athletic trainer right after, or did you discover that during college?
Don't think I really knew going into college that I was like dead set on being an athletic trainer, but I went in as like an athletic training major.
Yeah, so it was on the radar. Sports were in the identity.
Yes.
Athlete was in the identity.
Yeah.
And so you knew you wanted to stay in that space.
I think I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I loved sports and it was all I had done. And so it was like, oh, I could do something in sports. Like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'll start investigating this, right?
Yeah.
I'll start out as this. And then if that changes, okay, I'll figure it out along the way.
Yeah.
My mom really wanted me to be a physical therapist.
Really?
She was a nurse.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, she was a nurse. Worked on an orthopedic floor for a while. So she had some close relationships with physical therapists. And she just thought because I loved sports so much that I would love physical therapy. So I did some job shadowing while I was in high school.
Yeah.
When I went and observed, and it was, we were working maybe with somebody who was 70 years
Geriatric,
old and had had a hip replacement and couldn't walk. Like that slow pace just didn't interest me.
Like,
I just don't think that that's for me, right? Not anything against it. I just didn't think that I would love that.
Yeah.
But at the time, like, I mean, I loved it in college. It was fun. We were busy. I mean, because I played a college sport, and then when you weren't playing a college sport, you were essentially playing a college sport.
I don't know how many people really know about that, but being in an athletic training program while you're also a student athlete at any of the levels is intense.
Yeah.
You've got your sports schedule, and then you're also trying to get enough hours of practice and field time and clinic time and all of that for your major.
It's time intensive for sure.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
Yeah.
I think, as I've gotten older in life and you just start reflecting back, I'm like, man, I would have been really good at this.
Yeah.
Or
what are those things?
I always say, you're going to laugh at this probably, but like, I probably would have like done hair or makeup. I could have seen myself like owning a boutique or something like that. That's just like, that's kind of stuff that I think that I never maybe saw that as a path or never truly understood. I think honestly, it probably came like social media, and then you start like seeing stuff online and you learn how to do hair and makeup, and you're like, oh, like I can kind of do this stuff where I didn't know growing up because you just didn't. Like I didn't even wear makeup hardly. Or
do you feel like doing something like that would have fulfilled you in the same way as being still connected to sport?
I think so.
Yeah. Fair.
In my brain, I'm like, I have passion for that too.
Yeah.
Having passion for that, I think so. I mean, certainly it would have been different. It's hard to imagine for sure, right?
Yeah.
But I could see myself like loving that and being okay with not being involved in sport.
Fair.
But yeah, it would be totally different because I probably wouldn't have any involvement from a sports side of things if I was doing something like that.
You just needed the NIL moment while you're still a student athlete. What was it? It was like the UCLA softball player who had a full brand and business of her like online social media, and now she could actually monetize it because of NIL. It didn't have anything to do with her actually connected to the softball part, but there you go. You're pursuing both passions.
I'm just too old. I missed that whole NIL opportunity.
Well, we can monetize you now, girl. Yeah. If anybody would like to go to Harrowby, post playing in college, you were already in your athletic training program. And then next step was, did you go straight into your master's program?
I did not. At Franklin at that time, if you played a fall sport, volleyball was a fall sport, you could not complete the equipment intensive rotation or clinical, which was football. So I actually had to stay an extra semester. So I took one class and then just worked football for that semester. So I was still around, but I wasn't playing.
What was that like?
At that time. It was like the best semester ever. Is sleep in until like 1 o'clock and then get up and go to football practice.
People are still around. You still know so many people on campus. I mean, you're still hanging out.
My close friends that were in my class had graduated, but like I had so many friends that were younger. I lived in a house with 5 other people, and like we were all super close friends, and just way more freedom. Because you just weren't as busy. I mean, certainly
even
football,
just not having as many classes. Yeah. Even just having the one class is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it was like 2 days a week.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could sleep in and hang out and party a little bit.
Where was your brain volleyball wise? Because obviously the whole reason you had to stay for the extra semester was because you had to do football season.
Yeah.
So you were kind of totally on their schedule.
Yeah.
So you were still in a sports schedule. But do you remember, like, were you craving playing volleyball, or were you kind of like, this is great, I have freedom?
I remember the first game that I went to, because those are also, I mean, aside from the freshmen who you don't know at that point, like those are your teammates, those are your friends, like the seniors at that time, which would have been juniors when I graduated, like those were your really good friends.
Absolutely.
And I'm still hanging out with them at school, right? And I remember sitting in the crowd and just thinking, like, this is the weirdest thing, like this is my team essentially, and not in the way that like it was only my team, but you know, like as you come up and you end up being a senior and you're a captain and like you have responsibility and
absolutely
in
you were
certain
literally
ways.
their leader.
Yeah, and then you're just not anymore. And to see them playing, that first year was hard. That was the hardest year in terms of that, like no former athlete kind of thing. I remember going to the very first game, and I think I only maybe even went to one more of their home games and then just didn't. It was hard to see your team out there and you're just like, nobody cares about me anymore, which probably wasn't the truth, but you know, it is what it is. Like this happens all the time. They move on. It's a new team, and like that's just how it goes.
So often there is that move on point. You're not usually staying right on campus.
Yeah.
You were still on campus, living on campus, working on campus, had to be in the athletic department even.
Yeah.
So it was like, you're not allowed to play with them anymore because you graduated that part of yourself. You've already completed your 4 years, but then you're still there in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your friends are coming home and they just came from volleyball practice, which is what you have done for like since you were in 5th grade. You know, and now you're just not doing that. That was hard that first year. I will say it got easier after that first year. And sometimes when I counsel other student athletes, I'll say like, it does get easier.
Fair.
Even though it may not ever that like desire or it may never go away, at least in my experience. So I graduated then in December.
Okay.
So I only did that fall semester. Yeah. And then I went on and did an internship at what used to be Disney's Wide World of Sports.
Oh, that's right.
Now it's ESPN's Wide World of Sports.
Yeah.
And I was there for like basically the spring semester. Yeah. Once I got away, it got easier. And then you were so busy doing other things. Yeah. From that, I went directly into grad school and then went right back into college athletics, and I've never been out of it since that moment. I think in some ways for me and my experience, probably that has helped. Others don't have that. Yeah. To have been involved in college athletics essentially the entire time since I started as an 18-year-old at one small semester of a break where I was doing athletics at Disney's Wide World of Sports, which was a little different. Yeah. But otherwise, like I've just been in college athletics. And so I think there is that, again, like what we talked about earlier with like the connection and the shared experience and all that kind of stuff, like helps me to almost like feel relevant in it, although sometimes I feel extremely old and out of touch, like more so now than I did initially.
Depending on what the topic of conversation might be.
Yeah. I definitely felt like in that first year, like maybe you're not as important, or maybe people don't really care about you as much, and it was just like, because they just kind of moved on, and that's just the way it goes. But I had those feelings initially to the point that it was kind of hard to like watch. And go and be supportive. That first year was out, but still at Franklin at the time. So
you kind of like separated yourself.
It was easier to not watch it in person.
No, as an athlete, it was easier to compartmentalize it and just not be around it versus be like, oh, this sucks. And
and some of my really good friends were playing, and you know, you still heard about it.
And when they're in season, then that's kind of all they're talking about, because that's what, you know, you're on that schedule. That's hard.
So it was just easier to remove yourself from certain situations where you were like watching games or trying to be supportive, which maybe isn't like the best friend or whatever, but you know, sometimes
it's what you needed at the time.
Yeah. I remember thinking though, like, and I probably still struggle with this, of the motivation to work out. I don't ever remember a time when I was little where I wasn't playing sports. Yeah. My earliest memories, like I was playing t-ball or whatever. And I never didn't play sports until organized sports, I guess, until, you know, after I graduated at 22. I didn't know how to work out. In my athletic training brain, I know what to do, but it took me so long to figure out and to also go, okay, there's some days where I just am not motivated to do it, but you just have to be dedicated to do it. I still look for like the motivation when I get up in the morning. I'm like, I really don't want to do this. Where when you had sports, it was like you just didn't have a choice. You had to go to practice. There were days I didn't want to go. You know, you weren't going to disappoint your coach, or you weren't going to disappoint your teammates or whatever. And that's been one of the struggles that I have found with, you know, no longer being in organized athletics.
Struggle with it to this day. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I wonder if, you know, you mentioned earlier friends of yours who never played athletics, if working out and that kind of thing was important to them, they taught themselves at a young age to do that. If it's easier for them now, and it may not be, I don't know. Like, I wonder if that experience is easier for them. They essentially had to motivate themselves at a younger age. I just never had to be. I say that, like, I did things for my sport outside of practice, right? Like, I remember I would pitch to my dad. I
Totally.
100 pitches a night, like outside of practice, or work out outside of practice and that kind of stuff.
Get extra reps, you know,
You did it because I wanted to win and I wanted to be good. And so that was the motivation to do those extra things, right? When I was training for preseason when I was at home in the summer, but in college, so you have a workout program. When I was doing that kind of stuff, I did that because I wanted to be good. I wanted to play. Now it's like to get up and go do a workout, like, what am I working towards? Other than, like, certainly you can say, like, for your own health, right? And to stay active and to, so when you get older, you can move and do all that kind of stuff. When you don't see that, like, goal right there in front of you, it's harder to consistently stay motivated to do that.
You are literally speaking my brain. Yeah, we know it's healthy. Yeah, we are teaching people.
Yeah.
I'm a physical therapist. You're an athletic trainer. Like, we literally know almost too much in that space. I still don't consistently work out. Even working through this and even finding, I'll go through spurts and I'll go through moments where I can get myself there. I've started to piece together even when I was a little kid, and I would have these moments where it's like, oh, I'd picture myself as this, arbitrary adult version of Erin. I still remember having thoughts of like, oh, you're going to play every adult league sport. Like, you're still going to be doing all these things. We played one season of a co-ed basketball adult league. We did win the league, I'm not going to lie. Yeah. But then COVID hit. We have never played another adult league sport. Little kid Erin, this would blow her mind.
I think for me, it's certainly not going to speak for all athletic trainers, but my experience is a lot of those organized things, it's hard to fit into our schedules because we don't have 9-to-5 jobs.
Absolutely.
We work a lot.
A lot.
If I'm going to work out or do something, it's a lot of times I have to, it can't be an organized sport because my availability is not going to be when those things are happening. And so that's probably been on some of those things a challenge for me, for sure. So I can resonate with what you're saying of like, you would have, I probably would have pictured at some point that I was playing in like a volleyball league. I chose a destination that's rural.
Yep.
So like I live here in Greencastle, and so some of those opportunities just aren't there. If I lived in Indianapolis or a bigger city, you'd have more opportunities for that kind of stuff. But then when you live in a rural area and then you work a ton, like you're just not going to have availability and time sometimes to do the organized sports stuff. So again, you have to like figure out how to motivate yourself. It took me a long time to get to a place because my mind was set in terms of like workouts and how intense they had to be from a college athletics or even high school athletics standpoint. In my brain, after I graduated, that's what it had to be in order for it to be beneficial.
If you don't have 45 minutes to do a lift, not worth it.
Right. Or if you're not going to run, or if you're not going to be like completely
dripping sweat.
Yes.
I can't recreate Coach's 3-hour workout. I don't have time for that right now.
And that was how my brain was set. So
that
like,
was so me.
I just wouldn't do anything.
That was so me.
Now I have learned that like, I really like to go on long walks. Now I try to walk fast and that kind of thing, but like, I just enjoy that.
Yeah.
So it's much easier for me to get up and do that because I enjoy it. And it's also good for you, but I'm not dripping sweat by the end.
Yep. And it still counts.
My heart rate isn't, 150 while I'm doing it, but it counts. And
it still counts.
Yes. And I think that has been a shift I've learned over many, many years that has helped me now. But I think initially I really struggled with that. If I'm not killing myself, basically, like it's not worth it. And then if it wasn't worth it, then I'm just not going to do it. I'm better now about that, but that took a long time to figure that out. I would say I've only figured that out in the last 3-4 years, probably. In terms of that, like, you know what, I just want to move and do something that I enjoy, and it doesn't have to be a super intense workout, and like it still counts, and it still makes me feel better, and I know it's good for me and that kind of thing.
Meanwhile, you've been working in the athletic, space this whole time. You've been giving people exercises. You're helping them with exercises. You're doing all these things. Same thing for me, especially when I was working full time as a PT. I'm literally helping all these other people do it because it's very important and it's important for them. And I know the things that I should be doing. I had that exact same mindset post-college and start of PT school. I was like, we have class from 8 to 5 and then I've got to study. We're doing all these things, like total excuse because I had plenty of classmates that that all prioritized their workouts and all did that. I found myself being hypercritical and overly critical because we were learning this is the right way to do all these things. This is how you're going to evaluate someone. This is what you're looking at. And I've got into my own head so much about, well, if you're going to do a workout, you need to do it correctly. And then you got to be, and I just got so in my head about that perfection piece.
Yeah.
I also feel you mentioned it a little bit earlier when we started talking about this. If I don't have my team there and I don't have this next game that I'm working towards, was I ever bettering myself or improving my own physical capacity, my physical performance for myself? Or was I always only doing it so that I would be a better vessel for the team?
Yeah, maybe a little bit of both. But I mean, I can't speak for you. But
I don't know that I was ever doing it just to be better for me.
Yeah.
It was bettering myself
Yeah.
so that I would be better to make my team better.
But that wasn't your driver. You were doing it for your team.
Fully.
Yeah.
That would involve me putting myself before the needs of everyone
Well, and
else.
then you graduate and then you don't have that to drive you anymore. Because now it is just about what is good for you.
In thinking back on it, had thoughts of, if I can't do a full workout, it's not worth it. And even if I'm just doing something small to be healthy, to maintain my body, to keep myself strong, what's the point of that? I don't need to do that. I'm not competing for anything. And so I remember having thoughts, not conscious thoughts in the moment, but I remember being like, well, I don't have anything I'm working out towards. I don't have a team that I need to, stay top of shape for.
Yeah.
So I don't deserve to have a body that can do these things because I'm not an athlete anymore. So just, Aaron, get over it, push that away. You're not an athlete anymore, so you don't need that. That fucks with you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Until you start teasing it back. And again, not generalizing, because it's definitely not everybody, but I know a lot of athletic trainers and I know a lot of physical therapists. Sometimes we're our own worst.
Well, I tell people all the time, I just watch people run around for 4 hours. I'm exhausted.
I feel you.
So I get home and I don't want to do anything because I just, I didn't do anything, but I was just there. But, it's like when you watch people do it, it's almost like a mind trick that I feel like I just went through practice.
Yeah.
Even though I was just
You're I was watching, I was analyzing everything.
Yeah. I get home, I'm done with sports for right now. I don't want to, I tell people that all the time. I just watched everybody work out. Now I'm tired. So
yeah, that counts, right? That counts. Yeah. Again, when you're somebody who has been fully driven by their sports and their identity of being an athlete, and it's and the things that I do in my spare time, all of that, it's still athletic things, you just don't think twice about it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh. Yeah,
I mean, even now, I have friends who, it's College World Series is on, March Madness, or even just general games, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get home, I don't want to watch sports. That's not my thing. I want to watch reality TV or something that's
fair.
I watch sports all day long.
You're in it. You're so in it still.
For 10 months out of the year. Outside of that, I'll go watch my nephew play baseball. But I'm not super into watching a ton of sports. And I don't really watch the Colts or the Pacers. I grew up, and you might resonate with this as well, but how many times have I heard people say women's sports is trash?
All the time.
I remember in college, the guys would say, well, we'll come watch volleyball because they wear spandex.
All the time.
Not because it was a good product
all the time.
Or because we worked our tails off all the time, but we'll come watch because you're wearing spandex.
Yep. And even the attendance for me, I played basketball and volleyball. So specifically the attendance at volleyball games versus basketball games were very different.
Yeah. So now seeing people now appreciating it, I'm here for it.
I'm so glad it's there and it's out there, but also new fans to women's sports.
Yeah.
Please also just listen.
Yeah.
And take it in and learn.
Right. Just
along
because
the way.
This is the first time that you've seen it.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that the things that are happening haven't existed
for years.
Or that this level of play wasn't there.
Yes.
You just weren't aware of it. Maybe you didn't even know the WNBA existed.
Some of them didn't.
But I have an 8-year-old nephew who is super into basketball.
Yeah.
A month or so ago. I mean, when I say this kid is obsessed with basketball, obsessed.
Yeah.
And he was telling me that he was helping his 4-year-old sister to show her how to shoot and teaching her some things. And he was complimenting her and saying she was doing really good. And I made the comment of, oh, good. maybe she'll be the next Caitlin Clark. And he whipped his head and looked at me and said, no, I'm going to be the next Caitlin Clark. And I was just like, that's the impact.
Yeah.
What 8-year-old kid 20 years ago said they wanted to be like any, at that time, college or WNBA player? Like, never.
They wouldn't have even known the names.
Yeah. He wants to go to a Fever game. He wants to. Now, he also likes the Pacers.
Absolutely.
And he, I mean, Steph Curry's one of his favorites. And he's got a lot of different, but he wants to go to a Fever game. He wants a Caitlin Clark jersey.
Yep.
Like, he, like on his own. Like, I just think so cool.
Caribbean, how are you doing now? What are your most recent activities? How are you being an athlete currently?
Well, I kind of mentioned before in terms of just like finding, I don't know if peace is the right word, in like routine. It is the right word. In terms of like finding workouts that are more about for my health and about feeling good than it is about, how intense that workout was, and then finding consistency in that because I enjoy it. Side note, I've got a back issue that has troubled me for a while. So there's not a lot of actual like specific sport things that I can participate in, but being able to find exercise and things like that
fit within that scope,
that feel good, that do give me a workout, but it's not super intense and doesn't hurt my back. Like, for the last couple of years, that's kind of where I've been with that. Specific like organized sports stuff, I just don't do much of anymore, and haven't for a long time just because of my schedule.
Getting to that place where you can give yourself permission for that quote unquote smaller workout, for that less intense workout to still count.
Yeah, I feel like it's an acceptance.
Still counts. It is such an acceptance.
I'm never going to work out.
Yes.
Like I did when I was 18 years old.
Correct. You're also not trying to play 2 to 3 games a week.
Right.
It's like there's a reason that you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I feel you on that.
Yeah. Still being around competition.
Yeah.
Every day. Right now we're in the summer, but. So I've had like a 2-week break, but I mean, normally 2 weeks ago I'm hosting the NCAA softball regional. I work with fantastic teams at DePaul and fantastic student athletes.
Yeah.
And that makes me stay connected and feel like, again, because I resonate with their experience, that I still feel that athlete in me through them in some ways. I guess in some ways that parents like live their life through their kids kind of thing. Like it feels similar to that, right? Like everything that we do is just to help them to be better in terms on the athletic training side. And so when I get to see them do that, like that's the coolest part.
Yeah.
Or if you take somebody from the moment they get injured and they can no longer play to, that might be a few days that they're back. It might be 6 months. It might be a year. When you get to see them and then them go back to being able to do what they love, like that's what it is for me in terms of continuing to have the passion for it and wanting to stay in it because it is hard.
Yeah. It's so hard.
Our schedules are just tough. And unless you've done it, you don't understand it. No. And it's easy to look on the outside and see me sitting at a game and being like, yeah, but all you do is
you're getting paid to watch sports.
Yes.
Come on, Kara.
I have a lot of people when they don't truly understand what athletic training is and they find out that that's what I do and they start, asking, well, what do you do? And you're giving brief overviews because it's hard to go into depth with somebody that you don't really know. But and they're like, wow, like that's got to be the coolest thing. And at times it is like
absolutely.
It's a privilege to be able to still be in college athletics and to have that have been my career. But there are days and there are weeks,
I don't blame
sometimes
you
months that it's just a grind and that can wear you down. And it does. You got to remember in those moments that like there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. A lot of times even players and coaches get to a point in every season where they're just like, oh my God, this is such a grind. You're not ready for it to be over because it's like you don't want to lose, but you're like ready for it to be over.
Yeah.
For you guys, that happens and then you go into the next season and you go into the next season and like your off season is literally a very short number of months before fall athletes
I mean we're
back.
in season from August to the end of May.
Yeah.
There are no breaks
correct
in between those seasons.
They overlap a lot.
Right. When basketball starts, volleyball's still going. And now with the way that we do playing and practice seasons or non-traditional, how we used to kind of call them and might be familiar to some, those are longer and more days. And so those overlaps are longer. And I mean, there was a period of time this fall where I had softball and baseball going at the same time that volleyball was going. Basketball had started seasoning and I was covering swimming and diving. So like that's a lot of student athletes.
That's a lot.
that might be a 4-week overlap. Sometimes it might be an 8-week overlap. Like those are just really hard times. And you're working the weekends. It's not like you're working 9 to 5 Monday through Friday and it's just hard while you're there. Like some days, those days are 10 hours. Some days are 12 hours. Some days you're working 7 days a week and it's, you might go 14 days before you get a break. It is exciting. And I love DePaul. I think it's a great place for me to have found to be able to do what I envisioned myself doing when I started in athletic training. But it doesn't mean that there aren't hard days or weeks or months even. Yeah. Sometimes years. Like sometimes there's just years that are really hard. And then like next year's better. But I mean, it all is relevant. But I think sometimes people see me sitting at a game and they just think like, oh, this is cool. She just gets to like come to work and sit at the gym. And there are times where that is part of it.
There are times where you're like, yes, this is great.
Yeah. On a great day, if you don't ever have to see me do anything, like that is a great day.
Yeah. Kara, you make it all look good.
Well, thank you. I have the privilege of working with great people, whether that be student athletes, coaches, administrators. It really is a team effort. And I say all that, I should first and foremost say my staff. So I have a staff of assistant athletic trainers and, the culture that we have built and the student athletes that we have and the administrators and the coaches, like DePaul really is a special place. And so sometimes there's a lot of people behind the scenes doing work that allow it to make it look like I'm, to like
make it. Yes.
Yeah. So I just feel privileged that I get to do this, even though sometimes it's hard. And that's everything in life, though. Yeah. I am appreciative of everyone in my career, life that help and allow me to be able to, even having a supportive family that, like I miss a lot of stuff. Yeah. And they're just like, sometimes they're not okay with it, but
sometimes they get a little
just like, it is what it is. Like Kara's in Spain or she's, in Ohio or she's just at DePaul on a Saturday for 12 hours, like it just is what it is. So one of the things I love the most is being able to support somebody through a tough situation. And sometimes that's just moving to college and trying to play a sport and adjust to college life.
Figure it all out.
And those relationships can be different. Some people go 4 years and don't ever need me. Yeah. And other people need me on a daily basis.
You're like, those people are so cool.
And that, it really is. I mean, obviously we spoke about how hard it can be and it can be. Yeah. But we're all in it together at the end of the day. And that's what it feels like. And our athletic training facility at DePaul, really, with my staff and how we've built a culture there, I mean, it's fun every day when we're in there.
I love it.
The student athletes have fun. We have a lot of camaraderie between teams. There's no like selfishness of these are my student athletes. Like my staff jump in and help with women's basketball. I jump in and help with the men. Like I'll help a swimmer. They'll help me with softball. Like being able to make some of those changes that maybe didn't exist when I first was in, like has helped, because at the end of the day, like we need to continue to evolve in athletic training as well. And the way that it's been over the last, I don't know, however many years it's been around.
A couple of years.
We are trying to change the culture and change how we do things so that it can be a little more sustainable so people want to do it. What I love, one of the biggest things I love about DePaul is the type of student athletes that we bring in, and just wonderful and fun to work with. And that makes it worth it. Makes the hard days better.
Good. Glad we can bring a smile to your face every now and then, Kara.
And this is the bonus, right? Like you don't have this with everybody that graduates. Yeah. But like that's what we see on our end that you all might not see, but like the growth from when somebody comes in as an 18-year-old to when they graduate at 22, like different people. And to have the ability to, I hope that I can make an impact this much, right? Like if I can make this much impact in your life, like that's what I want to do.
Thanks to you for keeping all of us on the field or on the court. That's a big one.
Y'all made it hard.
We made you work for it.
You made me earn that.
We did make you earn that.
National championship. Yeah.
Well, so Alex specifically made you earn it the most.
Oh, that was a wild ride. And really, I mean, that was 3 years in. That's
your third year of working full time, and you were the basketball athletic trainer. And Alex tore her ACL, the leading scorer on the team that is undefeated. In that
ranked
season.
Number one in the country.
Ranked number one in the
whole
country.
Season, except for the first couple weeks.
Yep. Tears her ACL during practice the night before the conference tournament semifinal and final weekend. Yeah. She goes down and Kara has to walk over there, keep everyone calm, but then also manage Alex and help her keep her calm. And this whole thing happens. You get her, you two go to the training room. Literally the whole practice is just like,
I mean, everybody's eyeballs were
you
just
could
like,
hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
Like our teammates still talk about, like, if you bring this, like, that practice up, everyone still viscerally knows how they felt and what everything happened.
Man,
but
we could do a whole podcast. We should at some point, Alex. We could do a whole podcast
my gosh, just you
on
and Alex.
that situation.
Thank you for being on my podcast.
Thank you for having me. I was nervous to do this, but this was okay.
Yeah, Kara's like, sign me up for more podcasts.
Yeah. Thanks for always coming back and hanging out with me in
Hell
Greencastle, because I love you guys and
we love you.
I love seeing all this stuff, cool stuff that you guys are doing. And
Thank you.
if I can be a little piece of your podcast, like, I'm in.